I still remember the day I met Alexis. I was a 32-year-old software engineer with a comfortable life in Seattle. That night at my friend Jake's party, she walked in, and everything changed. Her smile lit up the room, and 14 months later, I was down on one knee with a 3-carat diamond. I thought I had found my forever. Little did I know that an accidental eavesdrop would reveal the cruel truth behind her perfect facade. Before I tell you how my perfect relationship shattered before my eyes, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever trusted someone who did not deserve it. My story might save you from making the same mistake I almost did. Before Alexis entered my life, I had built a successful career at a leading tech company in Seattle. After graduating from Stanford with honors, I climbed the corporate ladder, quickly becoming a senior software architect by 30. My friend circle was tight but loyal. A previous relationship with my college girlfriend had ended painfully after 4 years, leaving me cautious about opening my heart again. That caution melted away the moment Alexis walked into Jake's housewarming party. She wore a simple blue dress that complemented her green eyes perfectly. Our conversation flowed naturally as we discovered shared interests in hiking, international travel, and obscure indie films. That night, we talked until Jake started cleaning up around us, a not-so-subtle hint that the party was over. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant overlooking Lake Washington. I remember how the sunset painted the water golden, matching the warmth I felt growing inside me. Alexis told stories about her childhood in Portland, her work as a marketing consultant, and her dreams of starting her own agency someday. I shared my passion for developing software that made people's lives easier, and my hope to launch my own startup eventually. By our 5th date, I knew there was something special between us. We connected on levels I had never experienced before. She challenged my thinking, made me laugh until my sides hurt, and showed a vulnerability that made me want to protect her. 3 months in, when I told her I loved her during a weekend trip to the San Juan Islands, she responded with tears and the same 3 words. Meeting each other's families came next. Her parents, Robert and Diana, welcomed me warmly at their spacious Portland home. Robert, a retired banker, immediately engaged me in conversations about investment strategies and technology trends. Diana, who ran a successful interior design business, was elegant and charming. They seemed to approve of me, especially after learning about my career and financial stability. My own family was more reserved. My mother, a high school mathematics teacher, and my father, a civil engineer, were practical people who valued hard work and prudence. They liked Alexis but privately expressed concerns about the speed of our relationship. My younger sister Amy was more direct, questioning if Alexis was truly interested in me or just the lifestyle I could provide. I dismissed her concerns as unfounded protectiveness. After 8 months together, we decided to move in. I owned a modern 3-bedroom condo near downtown Seattle with stunning views of the Space Needle. Combining our lives under one roof brought both joy and challenges. Alexis had expensive taste, and our discussions about finances became more frequent. She suggested upgrades to the furniture, artwork, and appliances that seemed unnecessary to me. Nevertheless, I wanted her to feel at home and agreed to most of her requests. Despite these small tensions, my love for Alexis deepened. I cherished our Sunday morning coffee rituals on the balcony, our competitive game nights with friends, and the way she brought spontaneity to my methodical life. When she nursed me through a severe bout of flu, never leaving my side for 3 days straight, I knew with certainty that she was the woman I wanted to spend my life with. The proposal took weeks to plan. I arranged a private sunset cruise on Lake Washington, hired a string quartet, and prepared a speech that came straight from my heart. When I finally dropped to one knee and opened the box containing the 3-carat diamond ring, I had spent 2 months' salary on her joyful yes, and the tears streaming down her face confirmed I had made the right decision. Our friends threw an impromptu celebration at our favorite rooftop bar that night, and watching Alexis show off her ring to everyone made my heart swell with pride. As wedding planning began, I noticed subtle changes in Alexis. What started as research into venues quickly escalated into an obsession with creating the perfect event. The guest list grew from our initial estimate of 100 people to nearly 300. The budget I had proposed doubled, then tripled. When I expressed concern, Alexis would become defensive, sometimes tearful, claiming that I was trying to deprive her of her dream wedding. To keep the peace and see her happy, I continued to agree to the escalating costs. Looking back, the red flags were waving furiously. Alexis became more interested in my work schedule and salary details. She suggested I ask for a raise or look for higher-paying opportunities. Our conversations shifted from dreams of traveling together to discussions about upgrading to a larger home in a more prestigious neighborhood. She began socializing more with a new circle of friends whose lives revolved around displays of wealth and status. Still blinded by love and the future I imagined for us, I attributed these changes to pre-wedding stress and excitement. The engagement party was scheduled at Alexis's friend Tara's luxury penthouse apartment in downtown Seattle. Tara, a real estate agent who specialized in high-end properties, had offered her home as a gesture of friendship. I arrived 3 hours early to help with decorations and catering setup, while Alexis was at an upscale salon getting her hair and makeup done with her bridesmaids. The apartment was immaculate, with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering panoramic views of the city skyline and Elliott Bay. I worked with the event coordinator to arrange flowers, champagne stations, and appetizer displays throughout the open-concept living space. By 5 o'clock, everything was ready, and I decided to use the guest bathroom to freshen up before changing into my suit. As I walked down the hallway toward the bathroom, I heard female voices and laughter coming from behind the partially open door of the master bedroom. I recognized Alexis's distinctive laugh immediately. I was about to call out when I heard my name mentioned. Something in the tone made me pause. Bishop has no idea, Alexis was saying, her voice carrying clearly into the hallway. He is just so eager to please. It is almost too easy. Another voice, which I identified as Tara's, asked, "But are you sure about this? He seems like a genuinely nice guy." "Nice does not pay for the lifestyle I want," Alexis replied, followed by the sound of something being sprayed, probably hairspray. "Bishop is just a stepping stone. I will leave him once the wedding is paid for, and I can walk away with half his assets." The room erupted in laughter except for one voice that sounded hesitant. "That is cold, Alexis. You have been together for over a year. Please, Madison. You know as well as I do that in this city a software engineer with Bishop's salary and stock options is a catch from a practical standpoint. But he is so boring sometimes, always talking about code and startup ideas. Do you think I care about any of that? I have needs, and right now he meets my financial ones. Once I get what I want from the marriage, I can find someone who meets my other needs." More laughter followed, and someone congratulated her on her strategic thinking. Through the crack in the door, I could see Alexis raise her champagne glass. "To securing the bag, ladies. The prenuptial agreement he suggested actually works in my favor, since we will be married just long enough to make it count." I stood frozen, my hand gripping the wall for support as a wave of nausea washed over me. The woman I had planned to spend my life with was openly discussing using me for financial gain. The diamond ring I had selected with so much care and love meant nothing to her. Our relationship, our home, our future family, all the dreams I had invested in were just a calculated move in her game. My chest tightened painfully as I silently backed away from the door. Somehow I made it to the guest bathroom, locked the door behind me, and stood staring at my reflection in the mirror. The face looking back seemed unfamiliar, pale with shock and betrayal. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to process what I had just heard. My first impulse was to confront Alexis immediately, to storm into that bedroom and demand an explanation. But as the initial shock subsided, a clearer thought emerged. If I confronted her now, she would deny everything, paint me as paranoid, and possibly accelerate her plans. No, this required careful consideration. For the next 2 hours, I went through the motions of getting ready, changing into my suit, and greeting early arrivals with a smile that felt like a grimace. When Alexis finally emerged with her friends, she looked stunning in a silver cocktail dress, her hair and makeup flawless. She crossed the room to kiss me, and it took every ounce of self-control not to recoil from her touch. "You look handsome," she said, straightening my tie with a proprietary air that now seemed sinister rather than affectionate. "And you look beautiful," I replied, the words automatic and hollow. Throughout the evening, I observed Alexis with new eyes. I noticed how she introduced me to her colleagues and distant relatives, always emphasizing my position and company, never my personal qualities or the things she loved about me. I saw how she steered conversations toward the wedding budget and venue, dropping hints about wanting to upgrade certain elements whenever my family members were within earshot. Most revealing were her interactions with her friends, the same women from the bedroom. They exchanged knowing glances whenever wedding costs were mentioned. Madison, the one who had shown a flicker of conscience, could barely meet my gaze. Tara seemed to take particular pleasure in asking about my investment portfolio, disguising her interrogation as casual interest. By the time we returned to our condo at 1 a.m, I was emotionally exhausted but certain of what I had heard. Alexis, slightly tipsy from champagne, chattered about how successful the party had been and how everyone loved her engagement ring. I nodded and made appropriate noises while maintaining emotional distance. "Are you okay?" she finally asked as we prepared for bed. "You have been quiet all night." "Just tired," I lied, "and thinking about how much there is to do before the wedding." She seemed satisfied with this explanation and fell asleep quickly. I lay awake beside her, the woman I had trusted with my heart now, a stranger. Sleep evaded me as I mentally reviewed our relationship, identifying moments that should have raised concerns. Her increasing interest in my finances, her dismissal of my career passions, her sudden friendship with wealthy acquaintances, all pointed to a calculated approach rather than genuine love. By morning I had made a decision. I would not confront Alexis yet. Instead, I would protect myself while gathering more evidence. My first step was research. While Alexis slept in, I sat at my home office computer searching for information on protecting assets before marriage, the validity of prenuptial agreements, and legal precedents for fraud in marital contexts. What I found was troubling, but informative. Washington state's community property laws meant that without proper protection, Alexis could indeed walk away with a significant portion of my assets, even after a short marriage. The prenuptial agreement we had casually discussed would help, but only if properly executed and not undermined by certain actions during the marriage. I needed professional advice. Monday morning I made an appointment with a family law attorney, telling Alexis I had a work meeting. The attorney, a sharp-minded woman named Eleanor Barnes, listened to my situation without judgment. "Unfortunately, what you are describing happens more often than you might think," she said. "The good news is that you discovered this before the marriage, not after." She outlined several options, from immediate termination of the relationship to a more strategic approach that would better protect my interests. I chose the latter. With her guidance, I began to create a plan that would shield my assets while gathering evidence of Alexis's true intentions. My strategy was threefold: protect my assets, document Alexis's intentions, and maintain the appearance of a normal engagement until I was ready to end things on my terms. The lawyer advised me to begin by securing my finances without raising suspicion. I started by creating new accounts at different banks and gradually transferring portions of my savings. To avoid detection, I told Alexis I was diversifying investments for our future, which she enthusiastically supported, believing it would increase her eventual payout. I adjusted my company stock options to prevent automatic vesting to a spouse and updated my retirement account beneficiaries to my sister temporarily. For documentation, I purchased a small voice-activated recorder that I kept in my jacket pocket during wedding planning meetings. Washington law allowed single-party consent for recordings, so this was legal if ethically questionable. I also kept meticulous records of all conversations about finances, noting dates, times, and exact wording whenever Alexis mentioned my money or her post-wedding plans. The most challenging aspect was playing the devoted fiancée. Every morning I woke up next to the woman who had shattered my trust. I had to smile and kiss her goodbye. Every night I had to pretend that everything was normal, that I was still the man who loved her unconditionally. The emotional toll was immense, but I channeled my hurt and anger into executing my plan flawlessly. Wedding planning accelerated, and I agreed to nearly all of Alexis's increasingly extravagant demands. She selected the Fairmont Olympic Hotel's grand ballroom for the ceremony and reception, a venue that came with a $40,000 minimum. The guest list expanded to include business associates and social connections I had never met. The flowers alone would cost more than my first car. "Are you sure about these expenses?" I asked during a meeting with the wedding planner, a calculated question designed to capture Alexis's response. "Bishop, this is our special day," she replied, squeezing my hand, while the recorder in my pocket captured her words. "Besides, you can afford it with your bonus coming up. Think of it as an investment in our happiness." Later that same week, I overheard her on the phone with Tara. "He did not even blink at the ballroom cost. This is going better than I expected. The wedding will be Instagram perfect and the divorce settlement will set me up nicely." Each new piece of evidence hardened my resolve. I watched with detached interest as Alexis purchased a $20,000 wedding gown, justifying it as an heirloom I can pass down to our daughter someday. The irony was not lost on me. My family began to express stronger concerns as the wedding plans grew more elaborate. During a Sunday dinner at their home, my mother pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Bishop, your father and I are worried. This wedding seems to have taken on a life of its own, and Alexis seems more interested in the event than the marriage. Are you sure about this?" "I appreciate your concern, Mom," I said, carefully aware that I could not reveal my plan even to her. "I am handling it." Something in my tone must have reassured her, because she simply patted my cheek and said, "You always were a thoughtful boy. I trust your judgment." My sister Amy was less diplomatic. After observing Alexis criticize the appetizer selection and demand premium champagne at our menu tasting, she cornered me in the parking lot. "That woman is using you," she stated flatly. "Please tell me you see it." For a moment, I was tempted to confide in Amy, who had been my confidant since childhood. Instead, I simply said, "I see more than you know. Trust me." Alexis's sister Jessica presented an unexpected complication. Unlike Alexis, Jessica seemed genuinely caring and increasingly uncomfortable with her sister's behavior. One afternoon, while helping us address wedding invitations, she noticed me watching Alexis with an expression I failed to conceal quickly enough. "Can we talk?" Jessica asked, gesturing toward the balcony when Alexis left to take a phone call. Outside, with the city spread below us, Jessica spoke candidly. "Something has changed between you two. Bishop, if you are having doubts, now is the time to address them." I studied her face, looking for signs of collusion with her sister. Finding none, I still maintained my cover. Every relationship has adjustments. "We are fine." Jessica did not seem convinced. "Alexis has always been ambitious, sometimes at the expense of others. I love my sister, but I see how she treats you sometimes. Just know that not everyone in her family shares her values." This conversation gave me pause. Should I bring Jessica into my confidence? Ultimately, I decided against it. The fewer people who knew the truth, the better chance I had of executing my plan without interference. As the wedding date approached, my bachelor party provided another test of my acting abilities. Jake had arranged a weekend in Las Vegas with our close friends. While they enjoyed the typical bachelor festivities, I remained subdued, participating enough to avoid suspicion, but unable to fully embrace the celebration of a marriage I knew would never happen. "Are you okay, man?" Jake asked, as we stood at the hotel bar on the final night. "You should be having the time of your life, but you seem checked out." I forced a smile. "Just processing that my single days are ending. I am good." Jake studied me for a moment. "You know you can tell me anything, right? If there is something going on." "I appreciate that," I said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Really. But right now, I just need another drink." The week before the wedding was a whirlwind of final preparations. We had the rehearsal dinner at an upscale steakhouse, where Alexis's father gave a toast praising me as the son he never had. The irony was painful, but I raised my glass and played my part. The night before the wedding, I stayed at Jake's apartment as tradition dictated. Alone in his guest room, I reviewed my plan one final time. Everything was in place. My assets were protected, my evidence collected, and my exit strategy planned down to the minute. I had written and rewritten what I would say at the altar, carefully selecting excerpts from the recordings and text messages I had collected. My vows would not be declarations of love, but revelations of truth. The thought gave me a grim satisfaction that helped me finally fall asleep. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright. Jake and my other groomsmen arrived with coffee and breakfast, helping me into the expensive tuxedo Alexis had insisted on. I checked my phone to find messages from several guests, confirming their attendance, and a text from Alexis that simply read, "Cannot wait to be Mrs. Bishop Anderson. See you at the altar." I felt strangely calm as we drove to the Fairmont Olympic Hotel. The grand ballroom had been transformed with thousands of white roses and crystal decorations. 280 guests were already finding their seats. The string quartet played softly. Everything was exactly as Alexis had planned, down to the hand-calligraphed place cards and custom monogrammed napkins. In the groom's waiting room, I shook hands with my groomsmen and thanked them for their support. When the wedding coordinator knocked to tell us it was time, I took a deep breath and straightened my shoulders. The moment I had been preparing for had arrived. The string quartet transitioned to Pachelbel's canon as I took my position at the altar. The ornate ballroom of the Fairmont Olympic Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and elaborate floral arrangements. 280 guests watched expectantly, including my family in the front row. My mother smiled encouragingly, unaware of what was about to unfold. The bridesmaids processed in their champagne-colored gowns, followed by Jessica as maid of honor, who gave me a searching look as she took her place. Then the music swelled, and the double doors opened to reveal Alexis on her father's arm. She was undeniably breathtaking in her custom Vera Wang gown, her expression serene and victorious behind the delicate veil. As she approached, guests murmured appreciatively. Robert beamed with pride as he prepared to give his daughter away. When the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" and Robert answered, "Her mother and I felt a momentary pang for this man who had no idea of his daughter's true character." The officiant began the ceremony with traditional words about love and commitment that now rang hollow. When the time came for vows, he turned to me first as planned. This was the moment everything would change. I reached into my jacket pocket and removed not the vows Alexis expected, but several printed pages. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the guests as I unfolded them. Before I recite my vows, I began clearly, my voice carrying through the ballroom. I would like to share some words from Alexis herself. Alexis's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her composure, likely assuming I was about to share some romantic message she had sent me. These are exact quotes I continued recorded over the past 3 months. I locked eyes with her as I began to read. "Bishop is just a stepping stone. I will leave him once the wedding is paid for, and I can walk away with half his assets." The color drained from Alexis's face. Gasps and whispers erupted from the guests. Before she could speak, I continued reading more damning statements, including dates and contexts. Her plans for divorce, her mockery of my career, passions, her strategic targeting of my finances, all laid bare before our assembled friends and family. "I particularly appreciated this insight into our relationship," I said, turning to a new page. "Do you think I care about his stupid coding projects? I have needs, and right now he meets my financial ones." Alexis's composure shattered. "You cannot do this," she hissed, reaching for the papers. I stepped back, maintaining my calm demeanor. "I already have. And to answer the question you asked Tara 3 weeks ago, no, I will not be adding you to my stock options before the honeymoon. There will be no honeymoon. There will be no marriage." I turned to the shocked guests. "I apologize for bringing you here under false pretenses. I discovered Alexis's plan to marry me for financial gain, then divorce me once she had secured enough of my assets. Rather than quietly canceling, I chose this public setting because it matches the public humiliation she planned for me with her divorce strategy. To Alexis's parents I added, "Robert, Diana, I am truly sorry. I believe you raised her with better values, and this must be painful to hear." With that, I carefully placed the papers on the officiant's podium, nodded respectfully to my stunned family, and walked calmly down the aisle and out of the ballroom as chaos erupted behind me. Alexis's screams and sobs echoed off the ornate ceiling, mixed with the confused questions of guests and the attempts of the wedding planner to restore order. Outside, the valet brought my car around without question, perhaps sensing from my expression that comments would not be welcome. I drove directly to the small cabin I had rented in the Olympic National Forest, 2 hours from Seattle, and known only to Jake, who had promised to inform my family of my safety without revealing my location. Once there, I turned off my phone and sat on the porch overlooking the dense forest. For the first time in months, I took a deep breath that was not constricted by deception and betrayal. The weight of pretending lifted, replaced by the quieter burden of healing. For 7 days, I remained in complete isolation. I hiked forest trails, read books I had brought along, and slept more soundly than I had since discovering Alexis's betrayal. I thought about trust, about love, about the signs I had ignored. Most importantly, I thought about the person I wanted to be moving forward, someone who would not let this experience make him bitter or unable to open his heart again. When I finally turned my phone back on, the notifications overwhelmed the system temporarily. Hundreds of texts, voicemails, emails, and social media messages demanded attention. I started with family reassuring my parents and sister that I was physically and emotionally well. Next came close friends who offered support, and in some cases apologies for not seeing through Alexis's facade. Most surprising were the messages from guests who had witnessed the wedding day revelation. Many expressed admiration for my composure and assured me I had done the right thing by exposing the truth. A few criticized my method as unnecessarily public, but even they acknowledged that Alexis's behavior was indefensible. Among the messages were dozens from Alexis herself, ranging from furious accusations to tearful apologies. I deleted them unread. There were also several from Jessica, showing a progression from angry defense of her sister to growing doubt, and finally to apology. Her final text, sent that morning, read simply, "She is losing it. Please answer. I understand if you never want to speak to her again, but she needs closure." I considered this request carefully before deciding not to respond. Alexis's emotional state was no longer my responsibility. Any communication now would only prolong a connection best severed completely. The closure Jessica mentioned was something Alexis would need to find for herself, just as I was finding mine in this forest solitude. When I returned to Seattle, I moved immediately into a temporary apartment. Our condo, filled with memories and items we had selected together, felt contaminated by deception. I hired a service to pack my essential belongings and put the condo on the market, accepting a slightly below asking price for a quick sale. The healing process was neither quick nor linear. Some days I felt strong and forward-looking, while others found me questioning my judgment and ability to trust. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Marshall, who specialized in recovery from relationship betrayal. "What you are experiencing is similar to grief," she explained during one session. "You are mourning not just the relationship, but the future you had envisioned, and the trust that was violated." With her guidance, I worked through the complex emotions of betrayal. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship with Alexis, finding strength in these authentic connections. Jake proved particularly supportive, never saying "I told you so" despite his early reservations about Alexis. 3 months after the wedding that never was, I accepted a job offer from a tech company in Austin. The change of scenery, combined with an exciting new professional challenge, accelerated my healing process. I found a comfortable home in a neighborhood of young professionals and gradually built a new social circle. The universe has a way of testing our growth. Almost exactly 1 year after the wedding day, I was back in Seattle for a conference and encountered Alexis at a downtown restaurant. She looked thinner, less polished, but still beautiful in a way that now held no power over me. "Bishop," she said, approaching my table hesitantly. "Can we talk?" I gestured to the empty chair across from me, curious rather than anxious about what she might say. "I am sorry," she began, her voice lacking the confidence I remembered. "What I did was unforgivable. I have been in therapy trying to understand why I value money and status over genuine connection." "I appreciate the apology," I replied calmly. "I hope your therapy is helpful." "It is," she said, studying my face. "You look good. Happy." "I am," I confirmed. "It took time, but I have learned a lot about myself and what I truly value in relationships." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. "I lost someone who actually loved me. That is a hard lesson." "We both learned lessons," I said, signaling for the check. "I wish you well, Alexis, genuinely. I hope you find whatever will truly make you happy." As I paid and prepared to leave, she asked, "Do you think you will ever be able to forgive me?" I considered the question carefully. "I already have," I told her truthfully. Forgiveness was necessary for my own peace. But forgiveness does not mean welcoming someone back into your life. Walking away from that encounter, I felt the final pieces of my healing fall into place. The anger that had once consumed me had transformed into something wiser and more compassionate. I understood that Alexis's behavior reflected her own insecurities and distorted values, not my worth as a partner. In the years since, I have rebuilt my capacity for trust through intentional relationships based on honesty and shared values. I approach dating with both optimism and discernment, neither naively open nor defensively closed. The experience taught me to look beneath surface charm, for character and integrity, to value actions over words, and to trust my instincts when something feels wrong. Most importantly, I learned that self-respect is the foundation of all healthy relationships. By standing at that altar and refusing to participate in my own deception, I honored my worth and dignity. The path has not always been easy, but it has led me to a place of authentic strength and openness to genuine love. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice to protect yourself from someone you loved? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life lessons. Your support helps this channel grow, and I appreciate each one of you who takes the time to connect. Remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most powerful beginnings. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to always stand in your truth.